The champ is here.
We will definitely not shut up and dribble.
The champ is here. I must be the greatest. The champ is here.
I'm going to continue to stand with the people.
The champ is here.
I will not lose.
I'm a bad man. I shook up the world.
Yes. Welcome. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you are here with we. My name is EJ, and I got my man.
Hey, mate.
Yes, he's the DB of the show, and we are Black in Sports, giving a voice to the culture that won't shut up and dribble. All right, we are here interviewing the best professionals in the game and in the boardroom, covering it all, laughing at all, while providing a platform to be heard. So today in the house, you know what we do? We like to welcome our guest. He's a military man, father, all right, strong values and beliefs. And today, we're going to get to it, but he wants to ask you the question, will you be respected or feared? He is the owner of Forge Performance here in Las Vegas. Let's clap it up for Avon Butler. Clap it up.
Hello. How everybody doing?
What's up, man? So, hey, how we start the show, you know, we go right at you. So I know we kind of talked about this, but this is where we asked about that shoot your shot moment. All right. So this is where you bet on yourself, where you went for it all. It could have been way back in the day. It could have been, you know, your current stance. But when you went for it all, bet on yourself and shot your shot. Give us a story.
I would like to reference one of my sons. We were in a position where it wasn't necessarily accepted by the local community for him to leave and go to a sport predominant school in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And so he started to experience backlash from local professionals in the education system and a few classmates, immediate teachers, and things of that nature. And so I had to support him. And some of the stories he would tell me put me in a position where I had to swallow my pride and able to support him in his dream.
Wow.
And that's when it became apparent to me what a father really was. And that's my shot. My shot was putting everything that I was
Into him.
into a cup,
Mm.
seal that cup, and put it away, enabling him to become who he was meant to be.
Woo!
That's deep. Man.
That's where we going today. I can feel that already. Let me take another sip of this, man.
And we're going to get into where your son went a little later down the line. So
Absolutely.
we'll talk more about that. But back to you, Avon. Where did the love for sports start? Where did that start?
I was the run of the family. So
Oh, you're a big ass run. You were a big, super swole.
so my family was based on achievement.
Okay.
In the run, I had to be able to compete.
Mm-hmm.
If it was 4 quarters given out by my grandfather, if I wanted one of those quarters, I had to figure out a way to compete.
Mm-hmm.
And based on that created the competitive nature in me that was able to, I shouldn't say created, it nurtured the creative spirit in me to compete and create a niche for myself wherever I was, whatever I did, or however I did it. I had to find a way to win, you know, and it instilled that value in me that I still hold on to today.
Hey,
Where's home?
Washington, D.C.
Washington, D.C.
Washington, D.C.
How many brothers, sisters?
Just me.
Just you?
Yeah, I have uncles, cousins, the whole nine. It was just me and my mom. Unfortunately, I didn't have a strong father figure. So the father figure came outside the home with a local educator named Charles Nixon.
Shout out to Mr. Nixon,
Right.
man, stepping up.
so grew up in the D.C., but you were born.
In Virginia.
How long were you in Virginia while was the move?
I grew up in Virginia. We shot back to D.C. because of my the inner city.
Ah,
Okay.
yeah.
And when I showed signs of falling into the inner city traps, I was sent back to Virginia.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I was sent back to
Oh, so
Virginia.
you're talking about inner city traps in D.C.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to ask, like, what? So it was Portsmouth, right?
Yes.
Virginia, where you were
Right.
born. So
So I was sent back.
sent back.
Yeah, sent back to prevent the inner city traps from encompassing me and making me choose wrong direction
As a runt.
as a run.
As a run.
So when you say the runt, like, is it because of like all your cousins and just like with your family, just all around?
No size. I have aunts and cousins, female cousins that are taller, bigger. But I'm, size matters.
There it is.
Size matters.
Let you tell it, right?
So,
I mean, man, I need to call you Mr. Butler now. If you the run of the family, I mean,
Put a sir on that, right?
for sure.
So, with the family, was sports around? Like, what was your first sport that you kind of recall getting into?
I had an uncle that was a football player at a local high school. He showed promise, but he was also pulled into
the street
traps
Correct.
of the inner city.
The lure.
Yeah, and so it became apparent that my grandmother was not going to lose
Mm.
when it came to me and those traps.
Mhm.
So
So football was it?
I tried basketball, but again, being the runt, there's only so many Glenn Davises out there, and I wasn't blessed with the height, just the wide. I had the wide shoulders, but no height.
So you collected them five or six and was out, huh?
Yeah, I beat them up, put them out, go get me a foul, get me a rebound, and come sit down.
Oh, that's what's up. So, so football became the sport. What positions did you play? And it was
Outside linebacker.
Oh, okay.
I tried playing DB. Speed was a factor. Again,
I would say so.
They moved me up, and so I ended up playing the outside linebacker.
Okay. I know you have to have a DB question for him.
No, I mean when you move up, I understand. I get it because the speed is a factor there. I mean, you said traps. You got pretty big traps for a DB, so
Got to get the neck roll.
I would understand moving you up. So, did you love the contact portion of the outside linebacker? I'm assuming then.
Football was a way for me to express my aggressiveness.
Okay.
It didn't matter where, as long as I could, create some type of contact.
So a couple of those 15-yard penalties, they was like, yeah,
oh no,
we moving your ass.
It was way more than a couple.
We moving you way up.
So, how was that high school experience? Where did you go? Was it in VA or was it in DC?
IC Norcom High School. IC Norcom High School.
Okay. All right.
A predominantly black high school. At the time, you had to apply and be selected.
Oh, really?
Yeah, to attend. Now I would say it's a zone school, but before that it was select based. Israel Charles Norcom is his name. He was a predominant black educator in the Virginia area. One of the stories is we had a circle at the middle of the school that was supposed to be considered the heart of the school.
Okay.
And you were not supposed to step on it or walk over it or near it. We had to walk around.
Walk around.
And so as a freshman, you got your gear on. You got your, back in those days, it was shell toes and, colored Levi's. And I got pushed into the wall. And I'm like, yo, some other words came out. And and I found out that, it was a black pride thing about the respect that we had for him as an educator and the services that he had provided for the community.
Okay.
That's deep.
So then that kind of laid some foundation. I mean, was there any kind of memories going to that school? Because I'm going to get into that you went to a HBCU.
Right.
So was there any foundation or was all that foundation kind of laid with you going through high school?
My mother attended the school.
Oh, okay.
My grandmother also attended the school.
Oh, wow. So you some lineage in there.
It was
You had no choice.
No, not like that. But
No.
it was where we were able to prove who we were, enabling us to empower the future that we had envisioned for ourselves and in the black community.
That's dope. So you went to Hampton.
Yes.
Yep.
HU. So there's a debate. Was it the real HU or the first HU?
First HU.
Okay. Not to be confused with.
No.
He said no.
Short-lived. Broke my collarbone.
Oh.
Tore some tendons in my shoulder. And that led me to the military side of the story.
Okay.
Okay. That's rough.
Yeah.
Was it like a freshman year? So like how soon in? Because that's not a tragedy, but that's a story that you hear in a lot of athletes, right? You get that. I had a friend that we lost in high school, right? He ruptured his spleen. He wasn't right since, and
coming out of the freshman year.
Jeez. Was spring ball?
Yeah.
Dang.
It was I ain't gonna say I shouldn't say devastating. It was a realization that sports can be short lived. we often glorify the sports, but we don't always talk about how quick and how short the fall is.
Yeah.
From that spectacular, glorious shine
Jeez.
to reality. You know, it's not far. It's very short. It's very, very short. It's not long.
And even if you do play long, it's not long. I mean, you got a whole lot of life to live outside of as long as you can play.
Years.
Yeah,
14,
exactly.
15
So
years.
it is short lived. So, what went into the decision to go to Hampton? Was just
More local finances. Being from the local area, it created a possibility for me to be in state.
okay.
To circumvent some of the financial strain of going on my parents at the time. So
Okay. Was there any other schools that you were interested in at the time, or
I was
it
interested
Hampton?
in all schools. It was, you know, I'm not like, you know, in that day it wasn't like it is now.
Nah,
where,
I
you
feel
know,
it.
I only have one school out of the you know,
Right.
the many. It
Right.
was who would come talk
to you.
you
Right,
know.
right.
Is that a coach? No, that's somebody's uncle. Okay, is that a
That's
a
somebody's
coach?
uncle.
No, that's somebody's granddaddy. You know.
So, did you leave school? Did you get recruited? Or so you're in this devastating moment, right? And how did the Army become the option? Like, take us through that transition.
Well,
Like,
it was the Air Force.
I mean,
not the
Air
Army.
Force. Excuse
Yeah,
me.
you know,
Excuse me.
We gotta.
No, I apologize
Please, okay.
because I know how serious that is.
Air Force brat.
Well, I
myself.
called my grandmother and told her.
Okay.
And she told me, well, you know, when you left, we cleaned your room out.
Oh,
So what are you doing?
oh,
Yeah. So
that's a real one right there.
What are you gonna do with yourself? And so that led to you
Figure
know,
something out.
Yeah. One of my uncles took me to a recruiter,
Uh-huh.
and he was like, "Here we go.
Wow.
It's a whole bunch of opportunities in there. You got to figure out which opportunity suits you."
Now hold on, you didn't take no lesson from Furious Styles, man, in Boys in the Hood. Furious Styles told us, man, there ain't no place in their military for us.
Furious Styles had somewhere to go eat.
There
He
you
had
go.
a bed to lay in.
There you go.
know.
So that was that like the only option? You just dug into that, or that was just really a great option after you got the information? Because that's devastating, man. I mean, you playing ball, you're going to school, you're freaking at Hampton, so I just know it had to be beautiful scenery. I'll just call it that. And then you had to grow up, man, out as a freshman.
No, we upon making a decision to do that, it was more so, you know, what opportunities that I had. I wasn't necessarily the greatest student at that time because I was focused on other things, and
Okay.
one of those things being sport.
The scenery.
And so, with what I had to offer at that time in my resume, that was one of the options that I thought would capitalize. At that time, where it was what's fair, and at the time, I felt like that was an opportunity for me to be fair. I had several family members that had also served, and the overall was fair. Little did I know when I got inside, it was a different type of fairness.
I'm about to say, because
Yeah,
what's
it was a
fair?
different type of fairness.
And who's defining what's fair?
So
Right?
and so going into that, I learned a lot. I learned, like, again, fairness was based on, did you check these boxes instead of how do I like you and what do I think of you? Did you check every box that you were supposed to have checked?
Mm-hmm.
And did you go and did you put some in that little, you know, we fill out applications, they got those little lines at the bottom. It says other. You know, we don't look in those lines, but you need to fill those lines out too.
Right.
You know, and so fill up the qualification sheet as much as possible to create the greatest chance of success.
So the Air Force, was there? What maybe you choose the Air Force, and then just talk about the process of being in the Air Force, because I grew up in the Air Force family. My mom was in the Air Force.
Oh, okay.
Dad was in civil service, so I'm an Air Force brat. So.
It was more. I honestly believed that hard work was a caveat to creating success.
Okay.
But it was more precise decisions accompanied with hard work and foresight that creates success. You know, a big argument that I have with a lot of my friends is that we instill hard work as the guy that does construction work or the guy that sweats all day. It's a guy that sits behind a desk that makes more, does more, and that's hard work. So we have to start to embody hard work as mentally challenging as well as physically challenging.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I learned. I learned that I was able to create more success for myself by being a hard worker mentally as well as physically. So that was one of the things.
Give me some stops along the way, some bases, some locations.
Okinawa.
Oh, I was born in Yokota.
Yokota, okay.
Yeah.
Langley.
Virginia. Yep.
Yep. Left Langley, came here, worked in a couple areas here, Keflavik, Iceland, Ramstein, Germany, Korea,
Yep.
Suwon, Korea.
Osan.
Osan, Kunsan.
Yep.
Kadena. Whatever you
Yeah.
want to say, I say Okinawa, Kadena.
Yep.
So it was quite a few places, you know what I mean? Quite a few places.
So, experiencing those places that open your eyes to a whole new world, did it help your, kind of growth as a man? How was those experiences?
And just on top of that, when did that start out? Or you're 20? Started when you started? When you started?
I enlisted 21. 2021.
I know you had a good time.
It was it was
That's a lot of experience.
eye-opening to see how blacks were received around the world compared to how we were received locally.
Yeah, speak on that.
Yeah.
In
what way?
I met a couple of my landlord in Okinawa was more open than I had ever believed. We would have conversations. He would talk to me about different opinions and things, and I'm like, why are you so adamant about the instructions that you give your grandson?
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, because he has no other way than mine. And I'm like, well, that's not what we teach. He was like, well, if you let someone that doesn't understand what they're choosing choose, what is the rate of success?
Wow.
So he was like, I know the choices that he makes. So he has my choices. And no matter what he chooses of the three that I offer him, that will yield success because I know the choices that he makes.
And what the ramifications of each one of those could be. Damn, he went Mr. Miyagi on you real time, didn't he?
No, that was our relationship.
Was you painting fences and
no,
scrubbing
not me,
shit, dude?
But like I said, I learned a lot.
That's good stuff, man. Now, all those stops, when did you start building a family, right? Because you got the two sons.
No. I went in with a family.
Oh, okay.
Like I said, when that happened, it wasn't just devastating to me. It was devastating, and the pressure of providing support for my family
was
added there.
100%.
So, you can go do this and do that. I'm like, well, you know what?
Nope.
somebody got to eat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Somebody's looking at me to provide things that I wasn't aware of the responsibility at that time. I had support with my family and other things because I was in school.
Right.
But when school dropped off, that was it. I'm like, hey, you go make a way for yourself and for your sons and for your family. So,
challenges or rewards that you think they received, right? Because Miles is, definitely talk about like a lot of the things that you've seen, and his face lights up with some of those places that you went because he said he know you had a good time.
Great time. I know you did.
The challenge was being able, the challenge was missing so much and them not understanding the responsibility of why I missed.
Them and who? You talking about
everyone.
Everyone, okay. The family.
Right. Not understanding why I missed. To them it was, he's not here.
He's not here.
Yeah.
But in essence was, me not being there created the opportunities that you see and
in front of you. Right.
that you do every day. But in the mind of a child, there is no there is nothing else.
Right.
His perspective is his reality. The reality was Daddy isn't here.
No, I mean that's a part that I guess is not discussed a whole lot about the military family. Just I used to work on a military base in Maxwell in Alabama, Montgomery, Alabama, and one of the kids I was a youth center program director, and one of the kids I used to be in my program was just like, his dad was a colonel, but his dad was always gone. He was 12, and he's like, my dad has never been to any of my birthdays.
Oh,
And that was his perspective of what his dad was. But I had to almost salute him as a kid because I knew who his dad was, right? So it was providing a whole way of life that he didn't even really understand. He just understood my dad's not here at my birthday. So that is a tough part of the military family that's just not really discussed a lot. And in your perspective, that's is a necessary part to provide.
I think one of the other challenges was watching them develop without me.
wow.
So I would leave and,
Something like this was doing
taking a couple of steps. I come back, he
gone.
What's that?
Yeah.
But we do that now. Or I would leave and, he's getting jar food. I come back and, oh no, he getting whole food now.
Right.
Or I would leave and he would recognize me and then they would pick me up from the airport. And when I would get back,
it took a little,
little
time.
So those were the challenges. The challenges was that I felt like they never understood the commitment of my love to them until they got older.
That's man, it hits home. My senior year in high school, man, my dad moved to Turkey. And so he was gone my whole senior year, and then my little brothers went out there too. And I think there was a process where they're like, they just didn't understand, right? But now as I'm older now, I'm like, man, Dad, if you didn't take that step, that's opportunities that I wouldn't have. Yeah. Right. So I get it, man. It's a necessary, and they'll understand it. If they don't understand it already, they'll definitely understand it as they grow.
So what's the career path that one chooses as they go through when they serve? Like there's different levels that, you can, was there like a point that you wanted to attain, or was there a goal when you did it? Or is it just kind of like, I just got to put food on the table and this is my option? And
but that's how I went in.
That's how you went in, correct.
And I realized that, it's time served. You can serve time on the first floor. You can serve time in, on the third floor. You can serve time in the penthouse. It's your choice.
Okay.
Time served. They don't mind if you are, you rise, but you're gonna serve. You know what I mean? So you sign this contract.
You gonna serve, goddamn.
You're gonna give me every day that that I'm meant to have. But at the same time, I learned quickly that I'm like, well, why is he? Oh, well, he studies. He does this. He makes rank. He does this. I'm like, okay, well, I know more than he does. No, you don't. You work harder.
There it goes.
You don't know more.
There's that principle again.
That's what we talked to, understand. I'm like, what do you mean I don't know more? I can do the job around him. I can work around it. No. Avon understand. You work harder, but he knows more.
Yeah.
And I had to swallow that, and that's why I said I learned that, you got to check those checks. You got to know. You got to fill in that other section at the bottom of the application with some more information.
You better put some extra curricular activities and all that stuff on there, right?
And what was funny was when I got out, those were things you overqualified. I had never heard that.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, let me put everything up there.
Right.
And a friend of mine said, oh no, you got to take all this off. I'm like, wait a minute, don't you want to know all I'm capable of?
Right.
No. I need to know that you can do what I want from you. No more, no less.
And the things that are extra that apply to that.
That's all.
That's it.
That's it.
That's what's up. So, anything else about the military? So, going into the loss with the time of your sons, you had an opportunity and you've been, of course, with them. And I want to spotlight your youngest, right? That you talk. Is that the one you were giving the example for him, right?
Yes.
So what you were talking about is he went to IMG Academy.
Yes, he did.
That's phenomenal. No? Oh, because my first question was going to be
not in that way.
Okay, so give me that, because you gave me a look.
Well, as excited as I was for him to achieve that,
okay,
at no time could I let him know I wanted to celebrate with him. Does that make sense? Because the moment I started to celebrate with him, he would start to understand or start to believe that he was at the pinnacle of what he was capable of. So I would be like, man, listen, that's something good. We're gonna move forward. And then I would shut the door and I would, you know what I mean? But at the same time, when I would walk back out, I'm like, listen, we have a quote that I ask him. I'm like, listen, you're writing a book. And every page and every experience is going to be in this book. This book is your life. And with those pages that you write, those chapters that you accumulate, The question is there going to be a page or there going to be something in your book that's going to be frowned on? So every day, write a page that you can reflect back on that's going to be positively about you as a person.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked him, I said, okay, we're in a new chapter, you know, your IMG chapter.
Right.
How are you going to arrive? And we did prep work. We looked up the coach, the D-line coach, the president of football operations, the president of the school, to make sure he had talking points when he met those individuals at the orientation. So I said, listen, when you walk in, you know, we either here to follow or we here to lead. And that decision needs to be made day one, week one, hour one, minute one, first, second. And so he was able to allow them or to see that he had read up on them. You know what I mean? How did you feel to be his D-line coach, played with Lawrence Taylor?
Oh, okay.
So how did it feel? You know, what did you learn from that experience? How can I learn from your experiences playing with one of the greatest, you know, defensive ends that ever played the game?
Yeah.
And
he changed football. He made left tackles rich.
Yeah, completely.
for generations.
For generations.
And
every left tackle in the game should thank him.
And so we made up index cards for him to study, not necessarily for him to have a rehearsed statement, but a summary of his thoughts that will come out clear so that he could present himself as a prepared young man.
And natural, because there are points that, like, they'll come up in conversation, right?
Exactly.
That's
And
dope.
so
was there an interview process then for him to get into the school, or
most
was
definitely.
he was recruited? So
Most
that was part of it. Okay.
You know, it was unreal. It was, you know, we can't non-disclosure statements, you know, contracts. You can't let you know whatever we are offering you, other people can't know. It was.
Oh boy.
It was more than I thought was going to happen.
Well, no wonder, because I always was like, well, what is that process? And that's why you never know, because you can't talk about
Can't
it.
talk about it, you know.
Oh wow.
One of the eye-opening things when he got down there for me was he was like, because I went later.
Okay.
I didn't go right in.
Mhm.
I was like, you know, when you're down there and you're ready for me to come see you, you will announce yourself in the game, and then I know it's time for me to come. And so when you announce yourself, then I will be there. And if you haven't made the decision to announce yourself, I will support you from afar. I will be here for you. I will do whatever I can.
Announce yourself like making some plays. You
Oh,
gotta
like,
make.
Yeah, you gotta announce
be
yourself.
there,
You
you
gotta-
know. You know,
I ain't
be
coming
here,
down
man.
here for
Come on now.
no scrub stuff, right?
and
Flying all the way down there, you on this bench, man. You better I got to get a hotel, food, and I'm supposed to sit up here.
reality.
That's real. That's
I like
that's
it.
raw, but that's real.
He didn't like it. I know he didn't like it. I know it was
There
uncomfortable.
or that
my,
setup,
my,
your
my,
approach.
my approach to it. I know he didn't like it. But I asked him. I said, you know, are we making decisions for tomorrow, or are we making decisions for 5 to 10 years from now?
Mm-hmm.
Because tomorrow is soreness. You know, you there is an emotional attachment to the decision that I made.
Right.
But 5 or 10 years from now, you're going to see the positive in the things that we do. One of the biggest things I tell both of my sons is that, you know, everything I do is for you. So if there's any question, I mean, you decided this is what's best for you. My objective, my goal will never change. So if we ever disagree, it's not because I changed, it's because you did. And it's your responsibility to put me back on the path to foster and support your success because of how we are. It's not my job to make the decision and show you. It's my job to give you guidance and be there when things start to crumble.
Yeah. What position does he play?
He's a nose tackle.
Okay.
So he started making some plays then. Started creating some double teams.
Well, the crazy part about it was that it wasn't football that made me come down. It was It was the leadership course. I would get emails from the leadership teachers. I was getting, you know, emails from, you know, the president of football operations on how he carries himself. We were getting emails from the Gatorade Performance Institute on how well he had presented himself, and so they wanted him to be a part of this type of study, or they wanted him to do that. So, you know, it was iconic for him to be able to announce himself off the field.
I like that.
And that's what I'm like, okay, so, you know, he like, well, I'm a complete package, Pop. I'm like, okay. I'm like,
Announce yourself.
yeah, so that's what he said. He said, well, you didn't tell me how.
Right.
You
I like
left
that.
it up to me, and I think
Yes.
that this type of announcement will last longer than some plays on the field.
I totally agree. You can see how the things that you learned in the Air Force has kind of trickled down into how you
Raise my kids.
operate things. Because you sound,
These sound
I
like
sound-
Joe-
sound
Joe
like
sound-
Pop, bro.
it sound like
Golly.
hey, Pops be dropping them dime
Man.
wisdoms, boy.
I remember one time, bro. It's a little league game. I fumbled. We lost the game, and I fumbled, and I swear I had a concussion. My head was hurting, man. I was like, "Dad, man, my head hurt." He's like, "Man, is your head hurt more because you fumbled, or does your head like it doesn't matter? You fumbled the rock, you lost the game for your team. Go to bed, type of thing." But it was that kind of real thing. So I got rid of the excuse making early in life. Like that don't matter. Stop making excuses. It's about results.
Because it is what that situation is. What it is.
Yeah, it's about results. So I get it, man. You, Pops, I know you listen to this, man.
Shout out to Pops, man.
Yeah.
So, going through IMG, obviously he announces himself. How was the recruiting process for him?
When we left here, he was the number 1 D tackle on the West Coast,
Oh wow!
and
So that's why they were salty, boy. He's like, "Why are you taking him somewhere else?"
but the goal was to develop him into the player he would be,
Right.
not to celebrate the player that he
He was. Mhm.
at the moment.
Yep.
Mhm.
Um,
And the West Coast, the world's bigger than the West Coast.
yes, I agree with that. But at the time, I wanted him to I wanted to create more of a struggle, to create more resiliency in him as a man.
Okay.
So he left home, and he had to learn how to take care of himself, put himself on the time management. Are you gonna be
All
here?
that.
Are you doing everything? Are you using all the resources to captivate your success, or are you still waiting for someone to do something for you?
Right.
I think if he would have stayed in the local area, I think that
He would have succumbed to some of that. Kind of like you in DC.
So when we sent him out, he dropped. He went to number 24 in the state of Florida. That was the emotional thing for him,
Right.
But I explained. I said, well, scholarships aren't given by where you rank,
Right.
about what you provide for the program.
For that program.
And so, we went through a couple of things where he was like, he wanted to play for particular schools, he wanted to play for particular programs, and I was like, listen, you need to go somewhere where, the impact of your experience there for the 4 or 5 years or 3 to 4 years that you're there creates a path to success for the rest of your life. Because football is going to get what it's supposed to get from you.
It's going to.
You have you have multiple staff members, you have multiple boosters, you have multiple programs, you have that you don't have to worry about winning. You have to worry about what getting what you supposed to get from the game, because the game would definitely get what it's supposed to get from you.
It's gonna definitely use you up.
So where did he end up going eventually?
Well, right now he went to Northwestern.
Okay.
That was the experience.
Yeah.
Because they came out of nowhere. We had committed to Vanderbilt.
Well, 2 smart ass schools though. That boy
And so-
announced
He-
himself.
he
He
wear-
announced himself, right? Vanderbilt and
size 8 3/8 head. Boy, that boy's smart.
cranium.
Got a
boy.
head
He got
on
a head
him.
on him.
And they came out of nowhere at the last minute. And he wasn't very heavily recruited, but he was recruited by a particular couple of programs,
Mhm.
Kansas, Vanderbilt, Minnesota. And so I was like, listen, man, let's be realistic. 87% of college at that time we were going through it, college students remain in the area the school that they preside in.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I said,
That's true.
Minnesota didn't necessarily have the greatest economy at the time.
Mm.
And so I said, well, Tennessee was in the process of rebuilding its local economy. And so I was like, listen, as of right now, Chicago has the strongest economy. They also have the most Fortune 500 companies that you can look into as far as employment once you are graduated.
Or that be the home's front for his internships, because usually you do a lot of local internships with the college in that ecosystem.
So,
Man,
I didn't
you
tell
added a
him.
whole nother
Yeah,
layer
man,
on the
I-
recruiting. Like, didn't anybody think about that, man?
I love
And
it.
so we looked at he likes sports. He loves sports.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, well, let's eliminate football. What's left? does the school provide something for you other than a helmet and shoulder pads dealing with the sports arena? Northwestern had a contingency of graduates that work at ESPN. They have a contingency of graduates that deal with Wall Street, that and different things. And so, the financial market, I shouldn't say Wall Street, I should say financial markets.
Mhm.
And so I steered him that way. Ultimately, it was
You
his
Mr.
choice.
Miyagi his ass.
Ultimately, it was his choice. I respected whatever he decided.
Right.
But I told him, we need give me facts. Give me the facts to support your decision. If you have the facts to support your decision, you'll never have an argument from me.
Wow. So you helped get him there. So we're going to talk about, kind of your winners platform, just get into the training aspect.
Okay.
So how did you get into training?
I had a strength
PT
coach.
test?
Yeah, no. I had a strength coach make me jump with 185 pounds on my back. I was a sophomore in high school. And
Hold on. What?
yeah, so 180 pounds squat jump. I hurt my back at the time.
Of course.
And I walked into, I made it through basic. I'm now, I'm full-fledged Air Force. I'm blue suit. And I walk into my primary physician, and he's like, listen, you have a slip disc. You want to take care of that? I'm like, well, what? Now, you got to remember that we're talking about 7 years later. So 7 years of my life, I was in pain. And so he did some stretches on me. I heard a pop.
Hold on.
I got emotional, and I was like, okay. So, my life was affected by someone that wished me well, but at the same time wasn't
Didn't know what the
knowledgeable enough.
hell he
Know what
was
they were
doing.
Come on, man.
And so that led me, I was like, listen, I don't know. I may not understand who you're going to train with, but it's paramount that you understand the things that they're going to require of you and the things that are high risk. They say high risk, high reward, but not when it comes to the body. You know what I mean? You have to find a comfort zone for the gains and the risks that the athlete has to take, because at the end of the day, his body is his entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. And so if we push athletes and we demand so much of them, when they get to if they get that far, I take that back. When they get that far,
Mm-hmm.
are they going to have the longevity and the reliability in their bodies to be able to capture the success that they worked their lives for? Mm-hmm. And so that led me into, let's work on your hips. Let's work on, your thoracic rotation. Let's work on lumbar rotation. Let's work on the joints that I know, because of your size and the position you play, are going to be at risk. Let's get ahead of the curve. And so the snowball started.
So you got into it and got just a absolute love for the movement of the body, and then, or was it a little bit of that because of what happened to you, and then the protecting of your son?
Yes. And I witnessed a military brother of mine go through a severe injury, and when I saw it, it blew me away.
Hold on, the story you told me.
Oh yeah, that he was able to function normally. He was able to.
No, you can't just talk. You have to tell the story and then go into this part.
Well, I saw him take a metal rod to the head. So the metal rod is through his head, and
was it an explosion or just?
Yeah, it was an explosion. I saw the metal rod go through his head. I'm looking at him. I'm like, okay, how is he going to do this? Well, he does that. He lives in Texas now. He's a full-fledged nurse. And that's when I fell in love with the power of the human body, the resiliency, the ability to overcome the fact that the
no
body
setbacks, no.
I mean, don't get me wrong. He was injured, so he had to recover.
Yeah.
But to talk to him, if he had a baseball cap on, you wouldn't know. And so the power of the human body at that time hypnotized me, and I've been hypnotized ever since.
Shit.
That's crazy, man. That's crazy.
How the hell do you follow up with that?
Forward performance.
There it is. I like that. So, fast forward, you do train here locally.
Yes.
Is there a method or anything that you call your training? You know what I mean? Because some people have it's I don't even, because I'm not in it, but like
Right.
plyometric based or like speed and twitch muscle based or something like that.
Um,
Is there a category or a certain kind of training style that you have?
Actually, no.
Yeah.
I don't want to come out and say, well, I've created this. Wow, that's not the case.
Mm-hmm.
What I did was I looked at the things that I thought that the athletes would use, the things that I thought would be able to create longevity in their careers, or like I said, allow them to actually succeed once they reach the pinnacle or get to the statue or the level of that they want or desire to be able to stay there. And so I started looking at where do injuries take place, how do injuries take place. I
Okay.
started to attend the NBA, the NFL, Major League Baseball injury conferences. They have an injury prevention, injury conference that tells you, and believe it or not, they do things and they tell you what training styles are being used
Mm-hmm.
to be able to minimize the risk of the professional athlete. And usually what ends up happening is they're 3 to 5 years ahead of us. So if I can eliminate that exercise, that movement, or that particular venture
Mm-hmm.
early enough, then it becomes a caveat to the athlete that I serve
Wow.
as a trainer to prevent him from having those pitfalls as an athlete.
So do you train all type of athletes, or do you want to stay with a certain like category? Like, I know there's different gyms. There's a lot of gyms around here. So there's some that just focus on, I'm gonna get the kid ready for college. There's some that want that elite athlete, and then there's some that just do a smattering of all.
I believe that. Well, I like the athletes that are able to have an attention span for me to give them the details needed to grow. If he's 5 and he's able to pay attention, then I'm able to cultivate a relationship to foster growth in him. That doesn't mean that the 17-year-old doesn't lose his focus as well.
Right.
So what I was forced to do was start to learn their learning style. Are they textile, auditory, or visual?
Mm-hmm.
And I had to start encompassing those different things. And once I did that, I was able to reach out to a particular market, and I wanted to stay around the high school athletes. Now,
Okay.
I would train younger athletes again if they're able to maintain their focus, but it became, the niche kind of created itself more so than me. I was willing to serve the athletes that were willing to be served by me.
Gotcha.
And so that turned into almost like a college preparatory thing.
Nice.
So,
That's really dope because we grew up probably watching Michael Jordan and we said, oh man, he worked hard, but nobody really knows what he did to work hard. And now it's a little different that we know LeBron James spends this amount of money on his body to stay kind of healthy. Are the kids more receptive nowadays to saying, this is what I need to do to keep my body in tip-top shape to play as long as I can? Are they more receptive now, or is it hard educating them on that?
well, first they're Superman at that age. Nothing
Right.
hurts, nothing. So to convince them that, it's possible, the injury is possible,
Mhm.
without doing certain caveats to prevent those things. I know it may sound bad, but a lot of times if their friend or someone that's close enough to them has had an injury or they've had a injury themselves, it creates a much more focus. They're way more open to doing certain things to prevent those things. My son wasn't open as well. He ended up he had a fractured, I want to say femur, no, calf. What's this? I apologize off the top of my head, but he fractured a bone in his ankle at the time, and so that pain level was the register point for when he was uncomfortable. So are you comfortable? Are you uncomfortable? Or are you in pain? Well, everyone doesn't understand that discomfort is not pain. It's
Right.
uncomfortable. So once they have learned or they have experienced a certain level of pain,
Mm-hmm.
I think they're more receptive. Everyone doesn't always get hurt, so you have a certain percentage of the market that won't do that.
And so when they are, say you get a young man that's been injured or a young lady that's been injured, and you rehabilitating and reworking how their body works, how's that process?
We do this is I gotta reflect on myself. When my sons were born, the first thing I wanted to do was have them stand on my knee. It was a race to see who would walk first.
Okay.
I got a daughter 9 months.
I'm like, man, we gonna walk, we gonna do all
You're
this.
gonna get this together.
Right. And what I realized was that I was causing misfiring patterns in their bodies because their body wasn't strong enough. What happened is their body was creating strength to do what we would
What
make,
you were
what I was
making them
making
do
it
or
do.
forcing them.
Right. So instead of it being, a specific pattern, it was a pattern that was necessary to do what I was asking. And so now what happens is as they get older and they become more sport dominant,
Mm-hmm.
that misfiring pattern or that misalignment of their bone because we were putting too much force on them because the bones are soft at certain early ages was actually causing some of the issues that we see. You see a kid run and he got a little gimp and you're like, wow, he needs to learn how to run.
Mm-hmm.
Well, do you think he's actually not running as hard as other kids? I'm quite sure, he's
doing
running
his best,
just as
right?
hard as the other kids. But what starts to happen, those firing patterns, those misalignments start to manifest themselves as he gets older, and it causes a power. I call it bleeding power.
Okay.
Where he's not able to actually create the force necessary to do the things that he needs.
So let me ask you about these kind of like.
Oh
Oh no, I'm not doing that to my daughter. I'm not trying to fire her legs right now. I'm kinda. She bow-legged, so I'm like, oh yeah, you gonna be fast.
That's
And
his
you're not gonna
theory.
get injured. You're not gonna get injured.
That's his
'cause
theory.
I don't have any- that's my theory. I don't know if it's correct. You can let me know if it's incorrect. But you kind of see some of now like these young prodigies that are doing really advanced things really early. What's your thought on that?
If they have taken the proper steps and been taught the technique,
Mm-hmm.
an athlete is who he is.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like I said again, we come back to focus. If he's able to focus long enough to maintain or be taught the technique or receive the information from who's ever trained him, by all means, I you know what I mean? I think he should be able to extend or go as far as he's willing to go.
Okay.
With me, I do no more than I do a certain body weight percentages. They can only do a certain amount of weight based on their body percentage
Right.
to prevent different things dealing with growth plates and different things doing with their knees and stuff like that, soft tissue, stuff like that. So
Okay.
I love it, man. All right, so part of your platform, okay, that you definitely want to talk to, and just it's the perfect time, is you want to talk about CAP. You didn't tell me like how, so I want to open the door and kind of hear what your thoughts. I think it's an interesting perspective that on this day, 4 years ago, was when he first kneeled. So for you to want to bring that up, man, I think it's perfect timing, man. So I'll let you start, man. We'll just have a conversation.
I think he was a pioneer at what he did. I think that he was able to garner the attention of the masses, which is what we have not been able to do when it comes to certain aspects of our community.
Mm-hmm.
But once we got the attention of them, and which we tend to do sometimes, is we were not able to focus the efforts that we received with the attention that he garnered with his efforts to actually start to benefit the community. No one talks about the literacy rate of the black high school student, the pregnancy rate of young black females, or the dropout high school rate, or when I say that I wanted to talk to you about it, I want people to remember that there are statistics that let us know where our attention should be, what we need to focus on, so that we are able to capture or foster the success in the young people as they grow, instead of waiting. Oh, now you should have did this and did that and did this and did that. It's too much information for us to wait till the end of the road to provide them with certain resources. We can do it as they grow. One of the things that I talk about with a lot of kids is school is free. High school, should I say? And so I said, me and my son joke a lot about it. I said, man, if I tell you it's a free hamburger, you'll go get in line. But if I tell you if it's a free education, the teacher and all the things that are surrounding you bother you. Well, there's only one paid person in the room. It's the teacher.
Right.
So I said, when you go and you get your hamburger, the cashier can be as nasty as she wants to. you will eat that hamburger, no questions asked. You don't care, you know what I mean? But
About anything else.
but if the teacher is nasty to you, you tell me that you don't like her, you don't do this thing. So my question to you, my question is, or my point is, you're looking for substance from the hamburger. So why are you not looking for substance when you're in the classroom with your teacher?
Yeah, my mom was definitely hardcore on that.
So
Because she's used that same thing. The teacher's getting paid, whether you learn or not. So it's up to you to take advantage of that. So no, I feel that.
And look who I'm talking to now.
Oh, look at you, see. Anyway, so with that, when you talk about the statistics, right? And I agree with you on a lot of that. How do you determine what to tackle first? Because we're in a shithole in a lot of things. And I think that's what do you tackle first?
What they're most receptive to. They make that decision, not us.
And when you say they, who are you talking about?
The youth, black youth. Whatever they're receptive to. If they're receptive to the job market at the time,
Right.
those are the statistics that we need to be putting in front of them to create the most advantageous path for them to be able to do whatever they're trying to do. I don't think we should make that choice, because what happens is when we start to make choices for them, we get pushback.
But then I'm going to take you back and I'm going to challenge you on that, right?
Okay.
Because with Mr. Miyagi, when he wax on, wax off, we know the choices that are going to put them in the best situation.
Right.
So if you want to tell me that, like, okay, let's say they want to be on financial literacy is the thing that they want to,
But
delve into.
Mr. Miyagi's grandson was 6.
But you're talking about the youth still,
No,
right?
but I mean that. But at 6, what starts to happen is he doesn't understand a lot. At 15, we're dealing with personality. At 17, we're dealing with worldly information, worldly knowledge.
We're on varying levels. Your 16-year-old is different than someone else's 16-year-old because of what you've put on them.
Right.
Papa Hayes, and bless this guy with, he's going to be at a different level than other people. My mom who poured into me.
Right.
So I think the problem is a lot of times when, like, the Kaepernick thing, he did kneel and we didn't have the other action behind that.
Exactly.
So I definitely agree with, what are the kids excited for, but let's clear a path for them. Because right now, the kids don't want to get killed by cops.
Correct.
So we need to clear that path for them too. So they might not be like jumping for that to be the first thing that they want to do, right? Because of course they're enamored with
fear,
easy success, a different defined success that's kind of put in our culture.
Correct.
So I still think that the kneeling was great, but there's no action plan, and there's still really no action plan.
Oh, they boycotted today. The NBA boycotted today.
And that was great because you were having stuff on their jerseys and the stuff's on the floor. And, like, at a point, it just came numb. Like, that didn't mean anything after the first week.
Correct.
Right? So what was the action? So them boycotting to me was like, okay, now we've done another action, but what is the next step? And we never have that. What's that next step? And I think that's the issue that we get into.
I think the first step is to create the awareness, right? To create the acknowledgement, right? So America as a country,
okay,
I don't think has ever acknowledged its greatest sin. We know as slavery, right? They don't really acknowledge it, and it keeps repeating itself in the way that the structure is set up now today, right?
Right.
So I think by cap kneeling, I think I'm not saying that this is like, the next step, but by the protesting, I think at least now the step is, okay, they're not playing and they made a decision not to play because they don't want to play, not because of COVID or anything else. They just made a decision. So now we acknowledging we heard them talking, but now we actually see them, the action is seen, right?
Yep.
Right.
So I think that's the first step. And I don't think the whole plan has to be formulated right now.
No,
I think
not
the
at
first
all.
step of the plan needs to be, okay, let's acknowledge, let's come to the table and really come together on this.
And you're correct in stating that, because I think you posted something with Chris Webber who had a full turnaround, because he went from saying some nonsense.
He talked a whole lot, but I was like, I'm listening to this time.
But what he said this last post was it was very genuine. And it's like, no, like we have to take a stand. We have to stop. and we don't need to figure it all out.
Right.
But we just need to keep progressing. And I think today was another step. So let's just keep taking these steps. We can't just get hung up on, the one thing. But the announcement is, okay, so now we have your attention. What do you want us to do? Right? Because that has to be the next step.
So
everybody's like, okay, like, all right, so we don't have any basketball. The women, I don't know if all the women games canceled, but
I'm not sure.
I think at least one of the first game canceled. Some baseball canceled. Yeah. So it's like now it's like, okay, I'm listening. So what's next?
I mean, that's annoying. I'm not going to get into it. I think it's just annoying because today is National Dog Day too, right? I've seen that on Instagram. But let's take this. If you were to see, no, seriously. If to some part of America, if they were to see a dog that got shot 7 times, there wouldn't be a question about what did that dog do? Did he bite this person? It wouldn't be any question.
Right.
It'd be like, who shot the dog? Somebody did the dog wrong.
Yeah.
But when
we need PETA for black people.
And if there's a black man, we got to have all these issues. So that part's annoying to me. That what's your plan? Like, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna be
no. That's real though,
quiet.
because the problem is, I remember sitting at home, and my brother can attest to this. I know he's probably listened to. So we were at the house, and we asked a very prominent vet in our community, white lady, of course, and directly asked her, if there was a black man and a dog that got hit in the street, who would you help?
She said dog.
Oh, 100%. She said Lassie or whoever got hit. Hojo.
And to hear that at a young age is just kind of like where we're kind of put out on the spectrum, because there, like you said, there are people that if a dog was shot or treated unfairly or abused or whatever, no questions asked, dog lives matter, and everybody would be on there. You digress?
Yeah. I agree with him on the awareness.
No, so
I think the more awareness that the more we are capable of bringing a higher level of awareness, I believe it would have a better impact or a greater impact.
Yeah.
Well, I think this is a step.
People don't know. They don't know, or they hear part of it, or a piece of it, or none of it at all.
No.
And when they do hear it, it's what's that game? Telephone, or where you hear
like,
a copy of a copy of a copy of a
by the time it gets to him, it's a whole different story. Like, hold on, what are you talking about?
No, he got shot with a laser. No, he didn't get shot with a
laser. Facts. So, I mean, we got a ways to go. I really think that this is another step, and I'm really happy to see another step, because I believe the root of the money changes a lot of things. And once some, if someone owe you $250 and they come with $175, man, you're gonna know that there's a difference. You're gonna know you got shorted.
Most definitely.
So once those funds get shorted and all the people, the trickle down effect, I think that's gonna hopefully. I'm hopeful that kind of opens up some eyes as we continue to take the next step.
I'm gonna go with Miles. I just think awareness will do that. You know what I mean? If you can't count money, doesn't matter if it's $1.75. You got money in your hand.
Yeah. Well, good luck on awareness. Because you had your boy, I'm a fan of Drew Brees, and he still thought it was about kneeling on the flag and disrespecting the flag. So I don't know how you teach somebody that doesn't want to.
But why would he be aware?
What?
Why? Why would he be aware? It's not an issue that he deals with. It's not an issue that he sees. It's not an issue that
his life.
He visions. It's not an aspect of his life.
It is. He plays in the National Football League. Kaepernick kneeled.
I get that point though, because I'm gonna take it this way. No. I'm gonna take it this way. From even my own life, right? My dad grew up in the South, but I grew up in Denver, Colorado, right? Mm-hmm. So what I learned from the Civil Rights Movement was like a history book to me. What I actually lived, right? Because I didn't live it. When I moved to Montgomery, Alabama, I was like, oh,
that part.
This is what
this is what this is.
Right. And so it took a level of a different awareness that I had to take even as a young black male to really understand.
Now, when I said that, I didn't mean that he doesn't understand what how can I say? He's able to see what happens, but he doesn't know the impact of what happens. And we can talk about that, and we can say what he's aware of because these people are around him, and he sees these people Well, when they walk out of the stadium, they get in $100,000 cars and go home. And most of them go live in $1 million house. So if he didn't grow up in this aspect or see that aspect, I don't think he would understand it. It doesn't mean he's not willing to offer his opinion on it or support it.
What you guys were talking about was understanding. I mean, awareness. And there's a difference between awareness and understanding. And I'll just leave it at that.
Fair.
Yeah, good point.
All right.
Fair.
All right, so we having fun, man. We could go into this. This is a good conversation. I appreciate you taking some of the time about your platform to get into that, man, because it's definitely deep, and hopefully we can get some change. But how we like to end it or wrap it up is this is the coaching section. This is where you get to drop some gems or the assists. So leave us with a mantra, kind of like your something you would tell your younger self or something you'd like to tell to the people, but just words to live by.
Before you pass judgment on a situation, be sure to self-evaluate to make sure that you've done all that you're capable of in that scenario to create or garner success for yourself. I think I got something for you. I don't believe in humility. I think I told you about that.
Yes.
I gotta sit up.
And what I believe in respect and morals and things of that nature, but I don't believe that I need to be humble when I beat you. You had 7 days to prepare, just like I did. You had the hours are the same, the days are the same, the weeks are the same. If I was able to maximize my time in preparation for this competition, I don't think you have the right to tell me how to win.
So you like prime time, did it?
You know what I mean? You don't have.
I'm going to celebrate
on your head.
Yeah, you know, what I mean? and that's what that's what if you are prepared and you choose, you take the proper steps to prepare yourself. You know what I mean? Nothing can stop you.
Boom.
I can dig it.
Boom. There it is. Well, hey, we want to thank our guest, Avon, man. Appreciate you stopping in today, man. Definitely want to thank the people. Hope you enjoyed the show tonight. Please give us feedback. We are Black in Sports on all your favorite social platforms, and we are Black in Sports on your favorite podcast platform. Look out for Tuesdays. We drop The Locker Room, those short format shows that a lot of you guys have been giving us great feedback on. And just know, stay safe, practice gratitude, and we're rooting for you.
Screaming, all us blacks got is sports and entertainment until we even.
Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Yeah. Yeah. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Look. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Spent about 2 racks on handmade new rags. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. That's everybody from sports to college class to rap.